Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is David Russell. This is the David Russell Show. I'm glad you're here today because we've got a perfect example, a textbook example of how the media machine and the activists are working hand to hand to shape a narrative that simply does not match reality. Now, you saw on Saturday, all over the place, so-called mass protest of people in the street carrying signs, no kings, chanting it, yelling it, making noise, looking like idiots. And what does the media do? They amplify it. They put it on your TV screen, your phone screen. They put it on social media feeds. They want you to believe this represents the majority of Americans. But folks, it does not. What you're watching is not an organic uprising of everyday Americans. No, no, no. What you're seeing is a well-coordinated, well-funded effort by the liberal left to manufacture outrage. In many cases, they bring in individuals who are unstable, angry, frankly disconnected from reality. Many extremely mentally ill people. Why? Because chaos gets attention. Chaos gets cameras. Cameras can create illusions of of a big group of people believing a certain way. That's the game. They want you to believe President Trump is some kind of a king, a dictator. That's the word they keep throwing around. Dictator, authoritarian, a threat to democracy. You've heard it 1,000 times. But let me ask you something simple. Use a little common sense here. If President Trump is actually a dictator, do you really think these protests would happen? Do you think people would be out in the street screaming at the top of their lungs, holding signs, getting wall-to-wall media coverage without consequences? Of course not. In a real dictatorship, these protests wouldn't happen. They couldn't get organized. They wouldn't get permits. They wouldn't get the media coverage. They'd get shut down and fast. People would get arrested. People would disappear from public life. We saw that in Iran. The real authoritarian regimes would look more like this than what we saw Saturday. Here in the United States, protest is not only allowed, but they're protected. They're protected by the very system they claim is broken. Now here's the irony, the part that just makes you shake your head. The same people yelling, no kings, exercising freedom only exists when we're not ruled by one. It's an upside down logic. Now let's talk about the media for a second. Because they play a critical role in this production, they're more than willing and eager even to highlight the loudest voice, the most extreme they can find, the biggest idiots. Why? Because it fits their narrative to sell. They don't show you the quiet majority. They don't show you the everyday Americans who is working, raising their families, paying taxes, and looking at this circus wondering what is going on. No, they zoom in on the chaos. They make it look bigger, sometimes through AI. They repeat it over and over and over until people start thinking, maybe this is reality most Americans believe. Trust me, it is not. And this is the key takeaway from the day. Don't confuse with the numbers, or don't get confused with the noise from the numbers, because the numbers are not there. Don't confuse the media coverage with real public opinion, because The real public opinions is everyday Americans like you and I that are watching this show, and we're the ones that are working and making America great. Don't let a handful of highly visible protesters convince you that reality has changed. It is not. We want America to be strong. We want it to be comfortable. We don't want to see all of these laws that law breaking like we saw during the Biden administration, where it's open borders, just let everybody in, and we're not gonna put anybody in jail, and we're gonna make zero bonds. That's not everyday Americans. Here's the most important part. By the end of the day, the truth is simple. We're still a free country. People can still protest even when it's wrong, when even they're misinformed, even whenever they're used by the larger political game. And the larger political game is to keep controlling our tax dollars so fat cats can get rich. And who am I calling out fat cats? I'm calling out Nancy Pelosi. I'm calling out Joe Biden. I'm calling out, there's just too many to call out, because if they've got a D in front of their name, odds are they're getting back in money somewhere. Look at Minnesota and all the fraud. We don't have a debt problem. We've got a fraud problem. And if we clean up all the fraud, boy, we could probably hit a balanced budget pretty darn quick. There'd be more on that. The fact that these people can protest is a proof that we're not in tyranny. The proof is we have freedoms. That's something to remember. Folks, that's all I have time for today. But we'll keep calling it like it is, because that's what we do here. Please like, subscribe, and share this everywhere, because we're not a big corporate media that can force stuff down your throat like these protests. We deal with reality. Reality deals with everyday people. Everyday people need to work together by liking, subscribing, and sharing to get information like this out. Thank you for viewing, and I'll have more for you very soon.